what coping mechanisms do you use with regards to your trauma following your experience?
Oh, thank you. That's a really lovely question. I think so the answer is going to be really different for everyone. For me, I would say music is the number one thing. So I play the piano, and I play in a band, and we write songs. I've played even before this. I've played since I was a child, the piano, and that's my way of getting my kind of emotions out and being able to share them and communicate them, and so I feel like that's really kind of saved my life. I don't know how I would have processed some of the emotions without that. And there's also, I mean, music, thinking back to your question about resistance, music is, and the kind of cultures around music as well, like are so important in resistance. There's and so it's really kind of inspiring. There's so many artists that, for example, have make songs about their own experiences with the police, in all different kinds of genres. And once you start kind of looking for, I've made some kind of playlists that are on this theme, which I'd be super happy to share with you if you'd like. And I guess what that brings in is just a sense of like collectivity and history. So it's, the police are a relatively new institution in kind of developing, being invented in the 19th century, really. It's different in different contexts, but in the United States, kind of coming out of slave patrols and trying to enforce white supremacy. The British policing very much coming out of Britain's empire and the suppression of dissent by colonized people, including in Ireland, and that's kind of the backdrop to the creation of the Metropolitan Police. Sir Robert Peel being previously in charge of kind of suppressing dissent in Ireland. So it's got this kind of colonial source, sometimes described as the colonial boomerang effect, where then strategies and methods of dissent suppression and social control that are developed in these colonial contexts then kind of come back and are then used against domestic dissent and against kind of oppressed and disenfranchised populations. The urban working classes in the north of England, for example, in the early 19th century. This became a long story. I wanted to say that as long as the police have existed, though, they've been resisted, and there's incredible amounts of that resistance that are kind of preserved in music and poetry and dancing and other forms of kind of collective cultural expression. So for me, those are tapping into those are incredibly important. And I guess I also wouldn't have got to where I have got to without so much support and solidarity from other people in the here and now, even in a very kind of crude way. Financially, it's impossible to take an action against the police unless you have a whole lot of money. So I had to crowdfund for my to kind of carry on with this case over years. So huge thank you to the solidarity of the people who donated to that crowdfunder. I didn't do this alone, and so that's kind of what's kept me going as well, has been the support of other people, and knowing that what happened to me is by no means exceptional, and I can kind of use that to shed something of a light on something that's going on all of the time. That makes me give me strength to carry on with it.